Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. In this today's video, we'll discuss about divergence. Recently, they published a script called Divergence Backtester, where I tried to gather statistics based on like price movement based on the divergences of previous two pivots. This script is like has contained a lot of data and can be a bit confusing for users. I've been asked by a few users to make a video explaining how to make use of this data or how to interpret this data for and use this for trading decisions and all. It's frankly speaking, the script I made just for collecting the data and just to study the behavior of divergence. It's not really you cannot directly use this for any trading decisions, but I can suggest how to interpret this data and how what I'm trying to achieve by doing this script. Before we start this, I think we'll have to look at a few of the other previous scripts which I published on divergence, because that will give you some basics on what is the logic used and all these things. To find my previous scripts, previous work on divergence, what all you need to do is go to my profile, select scripts, and type divergence and search. And you can also filter only open source scripts, so that you'll get only the free ones or open source scripts which you can use with source code available. Okay, so coming to the basics, the very first script which I created on divergence is this one, zigzag trend divergence detector. If you go here, you'll get a very good idea on what my logic is based on. So all these scripts, what I'm trying to do is the calculate divergence based on immediate pivots. For example, draw a zigzag, and then let's say these two are the pivots, right? Pivot two immediate pivot highs here. So I'll try to find out if the price is making a higher high and the oscillator is making a lower low, then that is considered as a divergence. And also we need to keep in mind that the trend plays a very important role when calculating a divergence, because the bullish divergence can only happen in the uptrend, and only it can only show on the pivot highs. Sorry, bearish divergence can only happen in the uptrend. It can only show on the pivot highs. But bullish divergence can only happen in the downtrend, and it cannot happen in the uptrend. But bullish hidden divergence can only happen in the uptrend, but bearish hidden divergence can only happen in the downtrend. So all these things are documented here in this table. If you go to this table, you can see that when the trend is uptrend, these are the possibilities of different divergence which can happen when price makes higher high, higher low, and indicators make higher low. This is a continuation of bullish, and price makes a lower low, and but indicators make higher low. It's a divergence. It's a bullish divergence, but since it's uptrend, it is not valid. The bullish divergence is valid only during the downtrend. So in this case, it's considered as indeterminate. So similarly, I've given a detailed description on all the different states of the divergent states. Please go through this to have better understanding of concepts of divergence. Okay, so once you study this script, you can understand how I base my divergence logic on different conditions. There are a few more scripts if you want to study. For example, this is multi-oscillator, trend detector, multi zigzag and multi oscillator. So it uses different zigzag lengths as well as different oscillators, and provides the data in a tabular format. You can use this, but it will take out the complete screen. But since if you're using this, make sure that you use it on a separate chart and not on the chart which you use for studying the candles. Similarly, there are a few other things. For example, divergence support resistance. So, in this concept, what we do is, not every pivot is considered as support and resistance. Only those pivots which highlights the divergence or hidden divergence, they are considered as support resistance levels. And similarly, there is another simple one. If you don't want to see lots of lines and all, you can actually use this one, which just posts a widget here, which says what are the nearest resistances and support levels, and these are all calculated based on the divergence again. And it also says how much distance is there to each of these levels. Right. So yeah, this is some of the scripts which you can study before coming to this divergence backtester. So once you've done all those things, and let's discuss about this divergence backtester script which I published a few days ago. So what I'm trying to do here is, let's come to the chat here, and you can also, I've set the text size to tiny by default. You can increase it to small or normal, but only problem is if you have a smaller screen, it will take up the entire chart and you'll not be able to see see the chart or candles and all in your chart. But yeah, you can also use it on multiple screens. Split the screen, use the table in one and use the chart in another. It's up to you. Anyway, coming to this case here, so what I'm trying to do here is to study how many times the price makes higher high or higher low. So higher high or lower high, sorry, in this case. So this part, the upper part, it's about studying the probability of pivot high, right? So right now we are in a pivot low. We want to see what is the probability of the price making pivot high. So a pivot high, which is higher than the previous pivot high. So what's the probability of making higher high, and what's the probability of making lower high? So that's something which this data you can use it to study that, and also this one to study what is the probability of making lower low and higher low. So it's the probability of pivot lows. So let's say if this reached here and makes a pivot low, or if this reached here and make a pivot low, so what is the probability of price making lower low and higher low? It can be a bit confusing. So I get mixed up with higher high, higher low, lower high, lower low all the times. But take your time, and try to understand what I'm on what the data is presented here. Let's say, if you look at this, this is bullish divergence downtrend. So this is a low. So next pivot will be pivot high. So here, if you want to see what is the probability of next pivot making higher high, right, and not lower high. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to look at this data. So the last pivot, this pivot, so what is the last pivot? This is bullish divergence downtrend. So if you search here, which is bullish divergence downtrend, if you look at this, the odds are 341 and 307. So the chances of price making higher high is not very high than making a lower high. Okay, so there is not much impact of this pivot on predicting or on forecasting the next pivot, whether it's going to make a higher high or lower high. So let's go to the next one, previous. So previous last pivot trend. So previous last pivot is this, which is bearish continuation downtrend. So it's in a downtrend, and bearish continuation means it has already made a lower low, lower high. Okay, so bearish continuation downtrend, lower high and lower high. So both oscillator and price has made a lower high. So in this case, probability of next high pivot being a pivot high is pretty high compared to the lower high count. If you look at this 1482 times, it has made a pivot high, and only 835 times it has made a pivot lower high, right? Higher high and lower high. Okay, so chances of this price making a higher high is pretty good. So then what else we can look for? So if it makes here, and let's say you get into a long position here thinking that okay, this provides a better odd, and it makes a higher high, and then if it goes back here and makes a lower low again. So what do you need to do for that? So for that, what you need to do is you need to also look at what is the probability of, let's say, we already have this. We already have this. Let's say it will make a higher high. And what is the probability of lower low? Or what is the probability of making a higher low? So this we need to see, like, so that you can, if you're going in a long position, you can use this as a stop loss. If you think that probability of making a lower low is also pretty less, right? So if it is higher high, and let's have a look at the data as well, like the oscillator as well. So just loading the relative strength index. I'll remove this RSI based MA. And if you look at this from here, okay, I'll do one thing. I'll make it on high rather than close, because we are actually looking at the pivot highs. So pivot high to pivot high, if you look at this, right, the RSI also reduced, and also the price has reduced. And if you look at this one, so the RSI is same level here, the higher level, but price is still catching up. So if it goes up here, so RSI, if the price goes up here, the RSI is also supposed to go up here. So the chances of RSI making a higher high is high if price also makes a higher high. So the last pivot, this pivot, it can be. So we're looking for a pivot low here to understand the probability of pivot low. So if you're looking at a pivot low, we have to first check what is the previous pivot, last pivot trend. So this pivot can be higher high and higher high. So price making a higher high and oscillator making a higher high. So it's in the downtrend. So downtrend, so bullish against trend and downtrend. So bullish, it will be a bullish pivot, right? And it's going against the trend because the trend is downtrend. And the price and oscillator both making higher high and higher high. And if you look at this, the probability is already in our favor. The probability of making a higher low is much higher than a probability of making a lower low in this case. So, and this pivot we already understood that it has a higher chance of making a pivot low, means the lower chance of hitting the stop loss. If you put a stop loss here, there are lower chance of hitting the stop loss. And then let's also look at the previous last pivot trend. So this is the previous pivot which is going to happen, let's say, and this one is going to be previous last, right? So previous last is, which is bullish divergence downtrend, lower high and higher low, lower low and higher low. So previous last trend, bullish divergence downtrend, this one. So if you look at this here also, probability of price making a higher low is pretty high. Not too much. It's like 3 is to 4, 4 is to 3, right? So in both cases, in both pivot cases, it looks like probability of price making higher high and higher low is pretty high. So we can probably safely enter into a long position here with stop loss here. And we'll also have to be careful. We're just trying to look at the pivots, individual pivots. We're not looking to catch a long trend. So you'll also have to define an exit plan for this. Where you're going to exit? Are you going to exit when it reaches the pivot high here, or when are you going to wait for a pivot low here and then again look for the next pivot high, or keep doing all this analysis again and again and move your pivots further. So we'll have to study in this way. And again, as I mentioned, I'm just trying to study the statistics here. There is no conclusive method of trading with this methodology, just trying to understand the probabilities, trying to understand the behavior based on the based on the divergence. So treat this as a caution, and treat this as something, a resource to study your price action, rather than something like an existing or a fully built strategy or something. Right, and hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your comments. Thanks very much for watching. Thanks. Have a good day. Bye.